Hello, Mr. John Connor.
Hello, Mr. Joel Bader.
Yes. Thank you for taking your time. And as always, like, I haven't told you what I'm really doing. So, and I think that's a big part of the whole thing, because I didn't want anybody to like prepare for that, because it's not an interview or like any business stuff. I chose 4 people in my musical career, which had like an immense impact on me and I guess on the band. So and that's why you're here, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I have to say thank you, and I'm glad you agreed. So, as you can see here, because you didn't produce any tour posters in a proper size, I just printed out on a. I just printed that one out, because like that tour was probably, yeah, it was 2019, and tour posters are not cool anymore. So that's why it's a small printout thing.
I disagree. Tour posters are always cool.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they can't go out of time. I'm sorry, but I won't allow it.
Yeah,
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And I think one day I would love to have a tour poster of that particular tour, because we all have such great memories, and I don't think there was a single person involved with that tour that had a bad experience or memory of it. So I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, that's really true. And the thing is that the people I'm talking to for that series of talks, that's something that really like made me shiver, because I actually never had a bad tour at all. And like in my career, and it's definitely not that long and that full of tours that you guys had, but it's so cool to see. Like, I always feel like we get along with other bands, because we're like, with you guys, it was like I was really nervous, because I knew you had like a touring history which was really going back in time, so it's like, how are you guys reacting to this like 3-piece band? Are you like just like, oh yeah, we have to take them with us, and oh no, they're on the same bus, and oh no, and it was just like we were a little bit insecure, because you were the only band we didn't really know before, except me. Like, I was the only one working with you, but I mean, honestly, not on a musical basis. It was fun and business mix, but it was never like. We never talked about touring and stuff. So yeah, I remember talking.
Right, and a lot of the business went through Dan as well, so it's not like we had a big prior relationship.
Yes, correct. Yeah, and that's the fun thing when I thought about, like, how do I start that whole thing with you, like that whole talk. I can't even remember kind of how we met, because it was just. Like, in my head, I feel like I know you for ages, because you were always here, like in my office, in my storage. I saw like flyers. Yeah. So it was like, how did that even start? And that's really cool, because you were actually the first band that, like, you're with me since honestly, since I'm 13, and that's crazy.
Right.
It's like. So all the other bands like kind of came with phases in my life. It was like, oh yeah, of course, yeah, I love this band because I was like 20 and they had like this big record coming out. But you were actually really like the one band that's here since I'm a teenager, and that's like that really,
like a constant.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
it's really cool. So I tried to find like stuff that made like I tried to think, how did I end up with you on a bus? Like, was it stuff
right?
that because honestly, that's actually like the original CD when like I wasn't allowed to buy the Warrant EP back then because my mother was
Right.
like, you sure you want to have that record? So I bought this later, actually, after the Alvaro Kings, and
Mm.
and then stuff in my life just led up to like get in contact with Roger, then Dan, and then you guys, and that's just insane because like at some point I can't remember how it all started and how it worked out. It just happened, you know, and that's a real mind fucked up for me.
Yeah. I'm a big believer in, yes, you make choices along the way, but I also believe that these connections, they're not by accident. You know what I mean? And they're not um it's not random that the way things end up and how people are positioned in each other's lives and how we choose to include people in our lives and how those choices play out in really nice ways for us. So I just don't feel that it's completely by accident and arbitrary. You know, I love to think of the world as pure chaos because that's sometimes an easy way of rationalizing it. But I really believe that people, it's important that you recognize and understand that people are put in your life, or you choose to have people in your life for a reason, and that's how you ended up on the bus.
Probably yes. Yeah, that's true because see, like the fun thing is when, like, I mean, throughout the years I saw you a couple of times because I mean we didn't know each other, but like, every time you came to Switzerland or close to Germany, I actually was there. So whenever I could, and then like my touring schedule got a little bit bigger when I was like going to my 30s and stuff. So I missed some of the shows, but I was always there at least once. And I remember
Yeah.
my sister came with me to a show in Solothurn in Switzerland, where we actually kind of met the first time. It was just like a merchandising, let's make a photo together and then go home.
Meet and greet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of meet and greet thing. And she actually was the one when we drove home. She was like, "You looked so happy meeting these guys and make that photo." And she was like, "I'll guess at some point you do even more with them than you're actually thinking now." You know, it's like, see, and then I guess you're totally right. What you just said, it kind of makes sense because that was probably like the main push, like going that direction and just like ask you guys if you need like a merch shop and whatever. So yeah, I'm totally with you. I believe in that too at some point. Yeah, that's cool.
It's like what happened with Roger and Henchman, right? We had them as a support in Switzerland, and like we're like, oh wow, these guys are really cool. Like their girlfriends, Jerome's now wife, was with them and doing merch, and we're like, oh, Ramona's so sweet, and you know these guys are so nice and everything. And I remember Brandon and I had flown from DC together, and we were in the car, and we were like, hey, let's keep an eye on this guy, Roger. He has, you know, he has the goods, and if we ever need it, you know, we were having problems with Sean at the time. It was kind of the beginning of what was uh transpired as him leaving the band, and we were thinking, you know what, this Swiss guy, you know, he's doing it all. He's singing, he's playing guitar, he's a bad motherfucker. And we recognize that.
Yeah, that's good.
and sure, and sure enough, over the last, God, since 2005, like he's been a part of our band in and out, and now a permanent member and songwriter with the band. And it's just these connections pop up, and there's a certain, I don't know, universal response where it's like, this fits, this feels good.
Yeah, totally. And yeah, that and but then at some point you kind of like every time I look back, like when we played with Slimboy, we were like 6 years. We actually were the same as Roger to you. We were the same to Mike Herrera and MXPX, you know? And then at some point,
sure.
Yeah, and then at some point you just look back and like, how small are you in this world that like the three guys from Basel, or in your case, Roger from Zurich, is going to be like the guitar player from the guys from the States, you know? It's like I know what you mean, but sometimes I just look on the thing, like on the whole thing, like how lucky are you? You know, it's like, even when I talk with Roger about that when we were on tour, because like we were never like really friends or really close. I mean, I booked his band in Basel at some shows and all that, and we knew who we are. So, and then like at the tour, it was like we had like these talks, and I was like, isn't it crazy that like that we're sitting in a bus together? You're like from Zurich and I'm from Basel, which is like not even an hour, and and we both represent stuff that we love, and it's like, how cool is that? And he's and he told me like he always thinks about that too, like how small the world then is, you know?
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Right. And then like it was like Mike Longworth, you know, just coming like, hey, you guys are from Switzerland, you got an American guitar player, like this is just role reversal here.
we should have switched.
and then just like you know, Mike knowing a lot of our friends back in the States as well, and just realizing how small the world is, but also it's you got to be able to recognize yourself, your fortune, and your ability to choose the right situation, you know, and be like, hey, this works, I'm going to stick with this, and you know, I'm behind this. Roger or you don't get into that position without a lot of hard work and commitment to playing music and bands. And same thing with Dave and Brandon and I. Like, you know, we've been grinding, and we put ourselves in a position to be in Zurich or Basel or you know, Barcelona or wherever it is. Like, you have to be thankful, but also you have to be like, yeah, I'm good at this. I'm doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And give yourself a pat on the back. You know, it's not the same as ego. It's gratuity, I think, and being gracious and being like, yeah, all right, this is cool, but I'm thankful for the work that I did too.
Yeah. I guess that's the driving force. That's what you just said. That's a driving force to me, not giving up, even though, because like, see, like a band like Slimboy or even Henchman and the Hidden and whatever these bands are, because like I'm too small as a band, and every time like a band member was giving up or leaving for, even if it was good reasons, you know, or on that tour with Mike, I mean, Fabian, our guitar player, just couldn't do it because of money and time. So you're always like, as the band leader, I'm always like in that position. Okay, you're like giving up on that project, or you're giving up on the tour, or you just like go on and find a solution, you know? And that leads up to what you just said. It's like, you believe in what you do, and then you find a guy like Mike Longworth, which is like, when I wrote him, because he was on another tour we played with, and we just got along very well, because the other guys were really young and like always like drunk and party, which is like, I'm not like kind of into, but I like to be part of it. And then you have like Mike.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you are really, really cool. I like you because you're just normal, you know? It's like, we can talk and then drink whatever and then just go to sleep and not having a story ready the next day. Like, it was crazy and we partied the whole night. We just fit it. And then I remember, like, when you came to Basel, like the night before we actually met you for the tour, I knew like who he played with. So I was like, he's good enough to just have the songs ready when he comes to Basel. But then you're in your little rehearsal room. You're going to take him from the airport, and you're like, oh shit, what if this sucks? You know, it's like you just don't know until the moment you actually play a song together in your rehearsal room. And honestly, already too late. I mean, if it sucks, we'll probably still go on that tour and suck every night.
I got a funny story about that. If you got a second. We were getting ready to do some gigs in Europe, and we had Axel Hilgenstore, Axe from the band Thumb, playing guitar for us. But we had an, typical dog eat dog. We had our fall and winter break, so we didn't do anything for like 6 months or 9 months or something. And like 3 days before the tour, I get an email or a text, whatever it was, from Axe. Hey, I've got a cast on my right hand that I can't pick, or left hand, whatever it was. And don't worry, I'm sending a friend, and he plays guitar. He's an American guy. He speaks German. It's going to be great. And we had arranged to rehearse at the Henchman rehearsal room anyway. So we get there with this guy, and it's becoming apparent, like, he's pretty good, but like you said, it's just not right. The chemistry is off. The playing is off. He's just not in. And you can tell that the nerves are getting to him. Now, because we're at the Henchman rehearsal room, Roger is the guy who lets us in. So they have this curtain up because it's a Swiss, the basement of a Swiss like kindergarten. So it's like concrete walls and everything. So I have a soundproofing curtain. And it's like 2 feet away from the wall. So Brandon gets up from the drums, goes behind the curtain, pulls Roger behind the curtain, and then pulls me behind the curtain. So we're in there, like, standing this close to each other. And Brandon's like, yo, this shit ain't working out. He's like, Roger, what the fuck? Can you do this shit or not? And he's like, I would have to push some stuff around, but yeah, I think I can play the gigs or whatever. So he's like, John, what do you think? I was like, yeah. So we're like, Guy, I'm not going to use his name, but we're like, Guy, off the guitar, Roger, plug in. We're like, thanks for coming. We'll get you your train ticket or plane ticket home, but you're not. He's like, hey man, I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. We're like, we know you could with like a couple of days, but we have a gig tomorrow. And this guy has played with us as recently as 1 year ago or 2 years ago. Like, we're going to have to go with him. And he was bummed out. But at the same time, like, hey, you're in the room and you got to make a choice. Feelings are secondary, because when you've committed to playing and it's a business situation, you got to do what's good for business, right? So,
yeah, totally.
So that
I mean,
literally happened, where we were like,
that's insane. I mean, the fun thing is, see, with you, with the legacy of a band like Dog Eat Dog, or I mean, any commercial successful band, that's crazy, because we often have like replacements on our tours. But if you're in Switzerland and you're not like in a big band, but you're playing like a good tour, or like like a band who's known, and you're going to support them, you always have the problem. It's always an ego problem, You have like this guy who gets asked, who never played a tour or anything, and he gets asked for a replacement for the tour, and he's like, "Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I can play the guitar, I can stand on big stages, no problem to me. I like to party," but then they actually just forget to rehearse the songs at some point. And like, I would never ever it would never come to my mind coming to a rehearsal to like and like saying, well, this is gonna work out, just like I'm ready on the first show day. It's like, no, but like, that's a rehearsal, like that's the one shot you have now, and to like prove me, it's like, how should I keep so much faith in you to say, oh yeah, that's fine, it's just like a big moment tomorrow for everybody, first show, and you just promise me, like, I mean, I see how you play and I kind of hear it, and the vibe is not cool. Why should I believe you. You know, it's like that's like it's my band. You just got the fuck out after 2 weeks and like show me the finger if it wasn't okay for you. But nobody blames you in the end,
right?
You know? So we have this
I'm sure you have, yeah. And sometimes too, in my experience, it's like I've seen people that we've had people come in because we've had replacements over the year. You know, Dave and I started the band, of course, but on guitar and sax, we've had different people come in. You know, Brandon's been with us since 1995, but at one point his dad got sick and we had our drum tech, Niels Berger, join. Now, Niels had seen hundreds of shows. He'd sound checked Doggy Dog songs before and different things, but it's different, even, you know, just to play a show. And some people can rehearse perfectly and then they stand on stage and it doesn't sound the same way it does in the rehearsal room. Now you have elements like crowd and monitor men and, you know, the chaos of a show and that type of energy, and they get shook. You know, we've had sax players that are great. They play wonderful in practice. And then, you know, saxophone's so important because it's breath over wood through brass, and any little variant, you know, any little shakiness, you're gonna hear it.
Oh,
and so we've had that happen before. When we did this big search for guitar players after Sean left, and we had Roger as a temporary guy, and then we said, hey, we want to find somebody permanent. Roger was doing henchmen, so we played with a lot of different guitar players, really good players, right? And some players that maybe weren't as good, but just had a lot of energy and hope and really wanted the gig. But it's like the vibe, the chemistry. You know, we had Chris Haskett, who played with Rollins' band, and had a gig with David Bowie doing stuff. So obviously could play Doggy Dog easily, but he was almost too good and too technical to play with us. You know, our parts sometimes are so simple that, you know, it really just relies on feeling more than technical ability. So yeah, just things like that, where you have like really accomplished players that just don't mesh well for whatever reason is. And I think, you know, chemistry is more important than ability in so many facets of music.
But do you think it got easier to find replacements for one-off shows or any tours like within the years? Are you getting cooler with like, okay, cool, that's the situation, we want to play like whatever these shows and it's a new guy coming? I mean, you don't have it that much throughout the last years, of course, but like how were you reacting?
No.
I kind of feel that you guy really like focus on the band, like if it's bad, it's bad, fuck off, you know. It's like that's how I feel you react on that.
I've been through so many scenarios, thankfully over 30 years, that almost nothing is just a surprise. But I'll give you an example of something that went wrong just on our last tour. So we were over in Czech and we were writing songs, and Boses came and joined us. It was a Thursday evening. We had a couple beers, worked on some new material together. We split up at 9 o'clock at night, and at like 3 a.m, I get a text message on our group thread from Boses. I have a fever. My throat is closed. I can't even play sax. And we're leaving for Germany at 5 a.m. for a gig. And first of all, we're all like, we were just in a room with him for 3 hours. Now we all have COVID, basically. And the other thing was, hey, we're going to, he tried to get Dada, who plays sax with us, and she lives in Prague, but she has a son, she has a life, and she couldn't get it together in 2 hours, especially getting in a van maybe with 5 guys who have already been exposed to COVID. So she doesn't respond, whatever. we all get in the van. We say we're going to Germany and we're going for it no matter what happens. But we leave Moses behind. There's no sax. And Danny, our tour manager, who's in Germany already, arrives at the gig the night before, and he's like drinking with the promoter, having a couple of beers the night before. And the guy's like, I can't wait to hear the saxophone. This is going to be so great. Doggy Dog with the sax. This is going to make my life complete. And we show up with no sax.
Oh shit! And he saw
So
it
we
on the
told the guy,
group
"Don't
chat
worry."
already, right? Like Danny already knew
Danny
about
saw
it.
it. Not yet. Yeah. So he gets home from having beers and he's like, "Oh shit." So he tells the promoter, "Look, the guy's sick. It's better that he don't come, blah, blah, blah." And the promoter's fine. And we gave him a great show. But we had to get on with this show. Thankfully, Moses tested negative for COVID and, was able to join us for the next gigs in Poland. But stuff happens, right? Like I always joke with the band, like, hey, if one of you guys gets sick or whatever, or we can't do the gig, I'm good. All I need is a mini disc player. I'll tell a couple of jokes. I got my ukulele. I'll do some freestyles, and I don't even need you guys anymore. Like, it's all good. Of course, I need them, just
Of
like
course.
they need me. When I went down with the broken Achilles, I was sitting in a emergency room in Prague, and I was faced with a decision to get the surgery that night in Prague and end the tour, or maybe one of the ideas was that Danny could sing. He had been through a million shows with us, and it's just all Borough Kings. Of course, he knows the album and could sing every word, but he was like 9. I can't do it.
Yeah. He
I was
told me
like,
about,
you can do it, Danny.
of course, but he told me about it, and I think he didn't ask me, but he told me that story that night when you were in the hospital, and I was like, honestly, I think my first reaction is you can't do that. It's like, no way, because like you're gonna get ripped off by the audience probably, because like that's what I mean, because you're like, this is your tour, like these are your fans, they know what you stand for and stuff. That's what I mean. It's like, to you, it doesn't make it easier, but sometimes as a small band like Slimboy, we can just show up, and even if we suck, it's like we have to get this, like we need to know it sucked, but like nobody comes to you like, hey, we like that was bad or anything, because most people saw you first time and stuff, so it's easier to get through as a small band. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, that was a night where I was like, why does this happen now? With your Achilles, it was like, and it was not even a bad accident. It was just like you just jumped into a monitor, actually, into a speaker. I was like, what?
Well, I knew that Dan could do it, and I understand what you said and what he was thinking. Hey, people are here to see John Connor and Dave, and it's not. It can't be the same if it's Dan Malman singing. I said, yeah, I realize that, but I think our fans also would understand, why maybe I would have had to drop out. And secondary, I also think that they would appreciate the fact that the show still could go on. It was the same thing with me sitting down. Not one person complained and was like, hey, that sucked. I want my money back. Doggy Dog's not the same with John sitting down. Nobody felt that way. So I think in the same way, if God forbid I had to drop off the tour, it would have been devastating for me personally to see the whole thing stop. It really would have had to been, I would have insisted that he did it. Thankfully, it didn't come to that, and we were all able to continue with a little modification. But I remember sitting with you and Mike and Silvio in the back lounge, and we had just left Berlin, and we were driving to Warsaw, and I was eating a big kebab, and we were all sitting in the back, and we were talking about the stage and tour and crazy things happening. And I told you guys that like I don't like things behind me. I'm like, I got one time somebody ran behind me and pulled me from the stage and like did a stage dive. And from then on, I'm like, I don't like when people come behind me. I don't care about stage divers or anything, but when they stand behind me, I'm like, hey, I don't trust you. What the
Yeah.
fuck's going on?
Yeah.
And sure enough, the next night I hit a monitor behind me, and that was my undoing that night.
Yeah.
So
I get that. I hate when like photographers and stuff are on stage, even though you kind of allow them to, but they always like cross the stage when you're going backwards and stuff. It's just uncomfortable because you're in a total other mindset than just talking to people that are on stage. You know, it's like you have you kind of do your job and your thing. I totally know what you mean.
yeah, I think you froze up there on my end. I'm not sure if it was internet or not.
You look good. No, it looks fine. I mean,
Okay,
the thing is with when you dropped or when you had to sit down, I think like I just made I told Silvio, look, that's the same thing because John Connor is sitting now, and like for the people, it's still like a kind of a special effect. You know what I mean? It's like, of course, they're not mad, like because it's still you're doing the show, and like that was the same thing when Dave Grohl was sitting on his a badass throne on the stadiums when he had like his leg broken. I mean, it's still you, and it makes you kind of like a hero for that moment. Like, oh, he like maybe he has pain or anything, and then he does the show just for me. Like honestly, as a music fan, I would thought that would have been killer if I would have saw that from an audience perspective, because it's just really cool that like the singer's not like too arrogant or like too pussy to just like drop out and like, oh no, like it's not hurting, but I'll go home anyway because I want to feel safe and I want to leave the tour, you know? Like it had that feeling of you like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I'm strong. Like I guess that's why.
Yeah, I mean, boy, sorry, man, I lost you there.
No worry. That's why I thought like people just saw it more from the perspective. Oh, he's like the hero. He's coming back. You know, he's doing the shows, even though he has pain or whatever. I think nobody would have been sad about you sitting there because it was obviously something you had to do. You know, that's why I think nobody was mad at all on these last shows, and it kind of was a good feel because like Dave and even I mean Dave is doing a show anyway, but then Roger actually was kind of forced to like do a little bit more of his showman stuff, and I kind of like
you're right. yeah it gave both of those guys a little bit more room, because normally I'm jumping and running all over the place and kind of being that action visual, and then with me fixed in a place, they could like you said, put on a little bit more of a show.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome, man. I mean, the thing is like I just like because when I chose or when I made the decision to do these talks, and I thought about who's important to me and which tours are important. One thing why I chose you was also like the guys that are working with Dog Eat Dog. I mean, you talked about like your Czech crew and Boses and then there was Joseph actually, and the fun thing is that Joseph Milata was actually the last missing piece to bring so many bands together I've worked with and toured with, and he was also your driver for a long time. And that's so much. That's so funny because like
Yeah.
I just realized that almost all these bands I chose to feature on these talks are kind of connected together, at least in some way, you know, like even though you never met the other guys or the other band, there's always one person who's been on that tour too. And Joseph is one of them. Like he was actually, that was just like the craziest story ever. I remember before I worked with you guys, we had a driver from the UK, and we've been on a tour, and our we had like we had a normal van, and the van broke down in France, and we were in on a Sunday, and we were there with our van, and the guys from the garage just told us, yeah, we're going to repair your van on Monday. And we were like, no way, on Monday we already played 2 shows, you know, we have one on Sunday, and then we have to go from France to Stuttgart. And then our driver from the UK told me I should call Joseph. And that was like such a cool moment because he was sitting at dinner on Sunday with his daughter and his wife. And he was like, I was like, hey, you don't know me at all, but like I'm in this band and we need another van. And he instantly told me, okay, when do you need van? And I was like, tomorrow in Stuttgart. We're all good for Sunday, but like tomorrow. And he's like, okay, and where is equipment? And I was like, yeah, it's still in France. So, and he was like, so I would need to go from Czech to France and then go to Stuttgart and then meet you there within 1.5 days. And I was like, that sounds really crazy. He's never doing that. And he was like, okay, just finish it and then go on the way. Okay, meet you in Stuttgart. I was like, what? Did he just say that? Like, did he just save our tour?
Yes.
So that was so much fun. And then you guys actually toured with him and he was your driver. And it's just like, Joseph is like a friendship that has begun like without you and then got even stronger with you guys involved. It was just, that's just insane. Like, I love this story so much.
That's what I mean. It's not accidental. You know, the degrees of separation is always, you know, one person or more. And Joseph is a really important guy because not only as a nightliner driver, but he had a van rental company, like, as you said, for more than 10 years. And he's a special guy. And besides being an amazing driver, he's such a cool guy and fun guy. And yeah, he's unfortunately COVID knocked his van rental business to the ground, but he will always be a friend, and I will miss paying him money for his van rentals. He turned us on to Andre. He turned us on to Boses. I mean, he's a pretty amazing guy. Elena, who drives our Sprinter for us now, she's because of Joseph. So many great things and great people are connected to Joseph Malata. So shout out to Pepichko.
Totally, yes. That's why I wanted to bring him on, because it's just insane. Like I love him so much. He's so cool. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Well, give him my love and tell him I was saying nothing but nice things about him.
I will. Yeah. Hey, I'll just try to find out one thing, because like I can imagine all the shows. No, I can remember all the shows I've been to from so many bands. And I definitely remember my first show I went to from Dog Eat Dog when I was 13 and a half or something. And it was like that time when I remember it's like, it was the week when I was going to the show of you. And then there was Warren Shee playing at the same venue, like two days before. And I was still like in this, what do I like more? It's like, I'm like in school, it was like you were either like hip hop or you were rock, you know, and you were definitely kind of an outlaw, not listening to yeah. And then
a little of both.
Yeah, I know. And that was so crazy, because like all my friends from school, we were like, yeah, we'll go to both shows. Like we have like the Warren G show first, and then the hip hop show was like really serious. And you had like the big guys from school. You had to be like careful. You're not standing close to them because like they're gonna beat you up. And and then we went into like your show, which was actually 2 or 3 days later. I can't remember correctly. And it was just like you saw the same people there, but the vibe was like, to me, it was like, yeah, I'm totally team that, you know, because I don't want to pose around. But then still, you were like, like during that time, you still had this hardcore image, you know what I mean? Because like there was obviously no internet and stuff, so you couldn't like see, oh, these are like regular people, you know. To us, it was just like, holy shit, like these are like the skateboarding and snowboarding guys, and they just come over here like they are rough, you know. It's like, and I remember Dave coming out of that venue before the show even started, and he was just hanging around outside of the venue, and that was like a completely like our minds couldn't handle that, because he was like, what are you doing outside here? I mean, in our minds, you're in like a fucking backstage with like girls and whatever, and just stay there until you come to the stage. And he was just there, and you feel just like he's more like one of us. That's strange.
Yeah. Right. And we had, even when we kind of went like MTV, we still had that element to us, and we wanted to stress that hey, we're also fans of music, you know, we're the same as you, except at some point in the night we get on the stage, you know what I mean? But we're like fans, and we want to hang out. And you know, some people back then were taking pictures. Of course, it wasn't like there's no cell phones or anything, so you know, that wasn't an element of it. But it was certainly, yeah, we were signing some autographs, but people just wanted to come up and say hello and just be like, yo, thanks for the music, or just to say that they met you, or you know, whatever. Will you swap T-shirts with me? Will you exchange hats, or whatever it is, you know? But it was important for us, like Dave and I especially, like we made a commitment to being out there. You know, it wasn't, it certainly wasn't like a marketing strategy, but in the end, it kind of ended up being marketing, because we had accessibility, and we created a closeness with our fans that very much works for us today when we're not on MTV and we haven't released a record in 20 years or longer. People still want to come see us and interact with us because they know we're not hiding in the back or on a bus. We're there to like say what's up and have a beer after the show or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I guess that was every time I left a show from you guys without knowing you, that was exactly the feeling that I had. It didn't came through as a marketing strategy, but it's actually one, but it's a good one. You know, it's like, it's nothing bad. It just always felt really human. Like on like seeing you on stage always felt human, and that's something. Yeah, you can't put into a marketing strategy. I think it's probably not possible. That's crazy, man.
I appreciate that. I love that word, human.
Yeah. Oh, now you get freezed. We're back. You hear me? Yes, perfect.
Yeah, I can hear you. Perfect. I'm unmuted, right?
No, you're good. I hear you. You do? Hello?
Yeah, we're cool.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Yep.
Cool. So hey,
We're back.
yeah, hey, just another thing that's really like something I thought, because like I thought when people listen to that, it would be cool to hear some of the stories between me and the band. And one big thing was, I remember when we played, like actually the first time together, when I asked Roger and Dan if we could join for that Munich show, because we were on tour, and that was actually the first time we played together. Before, it was in 2019, it was before the tour we did together. And I remember that the Munich backstage was like, yeah, you guys have been here before. It was always cool. Like, yeah, just come around. So we did that show. And I remember that you told me, like, after the show when we left, I was like, hey, thank you so much, because it was really good filler date, because we would have just had an off day. And it was really appreciated that we could play. And you were like, yeah, we should do this again. And you see, like, you hear that so often as a young band, you know, and you just shook my hand. I was like, we should do that again. And then you kind of added, no, we will do that again, like something like that. And I was sitting in the van, and like outside of Munich on the highway, at some point I just turned around to Silvio and I was like, dude, I think we're gonna play with Doggy Dog more than we think. That would be so fucking good, you know. It was just like, as you said. And then this question came for the Boro Kings anniversary tour. And I remember, because like Silvio, the drummer from SLIMBOY, when we met, he was just like into metal. And like metal was his whole thing. He was like a big Motley Crue fan, and all that stuff, and Guns N' Roses, of course, and all these bands. Yeah, totally. But we had like a really rough start together, because like I was more like a pop band thing, you know, and we kind of changed together throughout the years, and it led to what it is now. So it's all good. But then he was like, we did some tours with other bands where he was listening to their songs. He was like, Joel, I don't know if I can take these songs 2 weeks straight, you know, every night. It's like, it's, I know you like it, and I know it fits the band, but it's hard to me, you know. and he opened up,
killing me.
yeah. And then I was like, and then he was like, of course we're gonna play the Doggy Dog Boro Kings tour, because like that's just perfect. That's like a tour I want to be on, and I want to hear the same songs every night. I'm totally cool with that, you know, bring on that tour. And that was so cool, because like I kind of felt it was just between me and Sylvia within the band. It was like 100% exception that this is going to be so good, you know, and we both were on. So that kind of led us to the problem, or not a problem, or like the question, because Silvio asked me. I remember we agreed on the tour, and we did some rehearsal, and he was like, what do you think, will people like kind of get SLIMBOY musically in front of Doggy Dog, you know, like is this a fit? And I was like, I don't know, actually. I was not sure with the German part of the tour. I always knew, because we played with bands like Buckcherry, and like we played a lot of support stuff in Spain or in France, or the eastern part, and people there are way more open-minded, you know. It's like they're not like, they can have a punk rock band in front of a metal band and it still can work, you know. So I was a little bit worried about the German part, because Germans are really like, yeah, I was here for a Doggy Dog evening and not a SLIMBOY Doggy Dog evening. Or maybe at least a band that kind of sounds exact the same like the headliner. And I was really, really impressed and happy about that when we played these first shows, and we made so much merch money, actually. And went off stage and could really 100% say that was a success. You know, that was crazy. And I guess that's a lot of that.
Yes.
Is because of you guys, because I don't know, you changed, and on the same page you haven't changed throughout the years. It's so insane. It's like you came from this hardcore thing, and you still have that attitude, but there's just something in that attitude that makes it like being a community, and not being blocked out by the band or its audience. It was insane. Like really, like after Karlsruhe, the first show I was in we're like Sylvia and me were in the bus, and we were like, okay, this is gonna be good. You know, it's like even if there's one or two bad shows, fuck it, it's gonna be good. So that was like my main moment on the tour, where I was like, shit, we're finally here and it looks good.
I'm sure that was comforting to have that moment where you said, yeah, okay, we put our faith in this and it's going to pay off. It's going to be worth it. And I like the word that you used, community, because I feel that for us, if we had any kind of, let's say, demographic that we were shooting for, especially in the early days, it was like the skate and snowboard crowd, because they were the ones listening to Warren G, NoFX, and, you know, Bad Brains or whatever. Like skaters, snowboarders, they were like into hip hop. But hey, I love my metal still, but I'm also into punk. Like those were our peer groups. Those are the people that like Sean and I and Dave were mostly hanging out with, was like skaters, snowboarders. Those were, we would travel to see bands a little bit, but mostly to go to new skate parks and new mountains to snowboard or whatever it was. So that was who we were trying to reach. And I feel like by doing that, we were open to having not only ourselves supporting any different kind of bands, but also having different kind of bands support us. And if you guys were worried about what kind of reaction you were going to get, I mean, when Waltari comes on the stage, you're getting an entirely different experience than Slim Boy or Doggy Dog as well. But somehow it all worked. You know what I mean? Like out comes Kartzy with the hair and the makeup and, you know, the super metal prog riffs and everything. But our fans, not all of them loved Waltari, but a lot of them did. You know what I mean? And dug it and enjoyed a new band. And same thing with you guys. And I think the diversity on that bill made it cool. It didn't have a theme to it originally. Like we were going to have Billy Bio from Biohazard come. And of course, that would have been a real 94, you know, all Borough Kings theme. I think Slim Boy would have worked with Billy just as well. But Billy couldn't do it. He had persistence coming up or whatever. And all of a sudden we had Waltari. And I was like, okay, let's see. And Dave and Roger both really got excited when they heard about Waltari. So it's like, all right, hey, you guys are excited. That's positive energy.
Yeah.
And let's see how it works. And as human beings and as a middle band, it couldn't have worked better. Those guys were incredible to be around and to get to know. And same thing with you guys. It all fit somehow in our own weird way.
Yeah. Like we are. I know we are a little bit weird. John, that was really, really cool. And
you have to be to try and have music.
That's totally true. That's totally true. So, but I mean, you guys are still working on new music, like a little bit longer than you probably thought with COVID, but you're still on it, Dan. And I'm really looking forward to hear that. We just made the decision to record the new songs on our own the first time, actually, this time around, because, I was always because my first, as you, my first record was also on tape, you know. So I always had like this thought of, you have to go to a studio because there's someone who actually runs a studio for a reason, you know. Like you go to a grocery store and buy your food, you just go to a recording studio and record there. So I was always very, not anti, but I was skeptic against like home recordings. And but this time we tried it, and released a fully own record, and I guess it sounds good. But I'm really excited what you guys are doing, because like Brand New Breed actually was a really good step in the right direction. I think it was just like, I heard that and I was like, that sounds really good. That's what I want to hear from you. It was insane. So, yeah, I'm really excited for what's coming with you guys.
Yeah, well, first off, I want to congratulate you on the new releases, the singles, Paris and Hello. And, it sounds good to me. I've checked out the videos, listened to the tracks. So I think that now more than ever, there's no rules to the music business. Do it whatever way you want to do. For Dog Eat Dog, we wanted to make our new album in one studio, and the studio already changed, right? Because the producer who was in Zurich moved his entire operation to Lausanne. So there you go. You have to make one adjustment, and then COVID hits. So I started recording some vocals in New Jersey with Dave's guy, the guy who recorded and produced Dave's solo record, or his soundtrack record, right?
Yeah.
So you just have to be adaptable. And the music business, there are no rules. So if you want to make a record at home, make it at home. If you want to go to the most expensive studio and you can afford it, do it that way. Or maybe a combination.
Yeah.
So congratulations on the new release. I think it sounds awesome, and you probably save some money doing it at home. As far as us, I'm really excited. There's not, there's nothing close to a finished project yet, but I will say we're pretty close, if not entirely finished, with the like writing part of it. I'd say we have probably close to 20 songs right now to kind of pick from and to further develop. Not everything is arranged, or not all lyrics, and horn parts and things still have to be added. So, we were in a rush in 2019, right? But 2020, 2021 has taught us all, be patient, okay? Do what you can. Yeah. Don't be too hard on yourself or others. Yeah. And the one thing that I'm most excited about from the last our last trip to Europe, I won't call it a tour because we only played 3 out of 9 booked shows. So that's not really a tour anymore. But listen,
you're getting a weekend
me and the guys had a really hard it was a weekender that lasted 10 days, right? But in all seriousness, we had a really tough decision to make. Not only Dave and Brandon and Raj, myself, but Danny and the Czech guys, everybody, we went to a very, let's say, spicy place with active transmissions all over Europe and Czech and Poland. And, we knew that things could go terrible. Maybe one of us could get sick and have to stay in Europe. And we took a lot of risk. But the main thing was we all decided together that we were going to do that. It was 100% unanimous, which was nice, that we didn't have to fight with each other, or maybe cancel it just because one person wasn't comfortable. And I was willing to do that. If one guy said, hey, I don't know, I can't get sick or something. But I guess what I'm leading up to is we really wanted to get together in the room and get one more round of songwriting going, you know, spend like 3 days together for some hours. And I'm really, really excited about what transpired. You know, we spent probably 16 hours together and got like 7 or 8 songs completed, and or at least on the right track. And we got to play them in Germany and in Poland in front of a live audience and get some nice immediate reactions. And like I said earlier, you know, it's different the way something feels in a rehearsal room than it is on a stage, you know, and you get to see what the crowd is feeling and how they react. So that was really cool. Now, hopefully, we're able to have the time and have the ability to start recording and get these ideas finished. We have some recording done. We have a bunch of vocals and drums and bass. Roger has a lot of guitar work to do, but I guess my main point is we learn patience, right? We learned that it's been 20 plus years. 1999 was the last time we had like a worldwide release. So what is an extra year? What's an extra 2 years? Like, the band is still getting called for festivals, for club shows. We have a partner with Metalville that's patiently waiting for us to say, hey, we have an album ready. And we have great booking with Nanook and Kingstar that is taking phone calls. We already have shows booked for 2023. So let's hope that we can get 22 done. And we have an American tour coming up next month with Life of Agony and Kings Never Die, our friends Dan Stasi and our old friends Life of Agony. So there's so much encouraging stuff happening. We're going to keep working on the new songs. I can't promise a release date. That's just silly. At this point, it really is silly. But hey, if Limp Bizkit can finally release a record after 10 or 15 years, whatever it is, so can we. All right.
Yeah. That's totally. And as you said, I mean, honestly, it's funny, but I mean, to compare to Limp Bizkit, it's kind of similar. You know what I mean? It's like, actually, because I think that's because even, I mean, I'm quite a big Limp Bizkit fan. I mean, I was grown up with these records, and I still love going to their shows because it's the same thing. It's just you get a good time, you know. It's like you're not going there like posing or representing something. You just go there like, yeah, I'll take your girlfriend or your wife and your sister and just have a good time and then go home again. That's good. So it's not necessary that you need to do a new record on a business level. Of course, you want to do a new record for you, you know. It's like that's something you're going to fulfill your dreams with, but honestly, you didn't need to do a new record at all because you probably would be booked anyway because people like your life situation. I totally understand and get that, and I always got why a band like Limp Bizkit didn't want to do that, like compare themselves to their last records, because like how you want to top your two main records, you know. It's like it's almost impossible because it was a different time. Everything just changed so brutally. I kind of get that, you know. So, and I have high respect from bands who still tour, because like I have a lot of bands that I'm listening to for years, and they come back in these days. Like my main band, like a band I really love, it's a Swedish band. They have like a reunion next year. And I was like, dude, that's crazy. This band exists since 1989 and they come back for another 3-week tour in the UK. And I'm like, I'll be there without a new record. It's just like, of course I'll be there because you're a good band, you know. It's crazy.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head. Like, you know, we're doing this for us, you know, for our energy, for our creative outlet. Yeah. So if you ask me, like, in 2013 or 2014, like, you know, Dan Malman, he's like, hey, write a record. Hey, I got this producer. Hey, you know, you guys should write new songs. I was like, no, those days are over. Nine, no more for us. But as Roger came home and came back to us, we started getting this like really good energy from the live shows, like, and then we would like, maybe, you know, the way that I'm like playing beats in between songs, like the band would start jamming and come up with something creative, and I was like, okay, like there's a new chemistry here, right? And little by little it became Brand New Breed, and after we had like the taste of that, we decided, hey, there's a good feeling here, and we have something to say and something to share, and writing songs for Dog Eat Dog feels fresh and exciting again, and why not do this for us? And of course we want our fans to like it, and we want new fans to come in, but that's not the expectation. The expectation and the intention is to make music that we love and want to share. What happens with that, that's for the world to decide.
Yeah, totally.
But it's important for us to do it creatively.
Yeah, that I had a long fight with me accepting that as a small band, you know, as a kind of a almost unknown band. Why should I do this again? I mean, I could do music with Silvio and whoever and just enjoy that and play a show from time to time. But as you said, to me, I still like finishing something and bring it on a vinyl or a CD and just make sure that chapter's closed and you worked on it. You had your fun, you had your downs and your ups. I know what you mean. I just always think when I hear a band like you who has like a legacy, I just always wonder, how do you guys feel, you know? And what you just said, you're not thinking about the old records or what happened. You just go from that point where you are now and you just write songs. And if it works, it works. If not. I think that's I like that. I like that mindset a lot. It's good. Cool.
Thanks, brother.
Hey, thank you. It was really, really cool. And I want you to say hi to Dave and to Brandon if you see them once in a while on your tour, on your US tour. And I'll take care of the Czech and Swiss family here. And
yeah, I'm in contact with. Yeah, I'm seeing those guys and talking to them on a weekly basis, and of course we have our big family group chat on Viber, you know, so we're sending each other jokes and stuff every couple of days or every week. You know, we're a close family, and the last couple of years have been tough. You know, it made me realize that I'm so blessed to have so many great people in my life and around me, and people that I know that are there not for money or not for fame or not for some selfish reason, but because they want to be part of the same family that I'm in. And that's a great way to be. That's a really nice feeling that we all are thinking the same way. And it's a beautiful time.
Perfect. What a perfect way to end this conversation. It says it all. It's perfect. Thank you so much.
My man.
Hallo zusammen, wir sind Slimboy, uns gibt es seit über 20 Jahren und 2022 kommt unser neues Album The Fear, The Anger and Most of All Your Hope raus. Wir sind wahnsinnig stolz und wir brauchen ein bisschen eure Hilfe.
Da unten findet ihr den Link zum Pre-Order, dort gibt es Vinyl, CDs, T-Shirts, Und dann ja, wir sind wirklich mega stolz. Wir haben die Platte selber aufgenommen und wir glauben, es ist wirklich sehr, sehr gut geworden. Also wir sind überzeugt davon, dass es sehr gut geworden ist. Und ja, wir sind wirklich froh über jeden Pre-Order, über jeden Support, weil wir wollen im Sommer dann auf Tour gehen und Touren kostet Geld für eine kleine Band, wie wir sie sind. Darum, let's go.
Dankeschön.